Well, I'm sitting here in my office in Omaha, and I was just thinking about something the other day. I turned 94 this year. Can you believe that? 94 years old. And I was looking through some old photographs, pictures from when I was 50, when I was 60, and it hit me. See, at the time, I thought I had it all figured out. Thought I knew everything there was to know about money, about business, about life. But the truth is I was still learning, still making mistakes, still discovering things. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. If you're in your 50s or 60s right now, I want to share some things with you. Not from some textbook, not from some lecture, but just from living, from watching, from making mistakes and learning from them. Because here's the thing, your 50s and 60s, they're not the end of something. They're not some consolation prize years where you just coast to the finish line. No, these can be some of the best years of your life, some of the most important, some of the most, meaningful. But you've got to approach them right. You've got to understand what matters now and what doesn't. And see, that's what I've learned over these 94 years. What really matters. What's worth fighting for. And what you should just let go of. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let me tell you what I've learned. Let me tell you what I wish I'd known back when I was your age. Looking back at my own 50s. When I think back to my 50s, I remember being incredibly busy. This was the 1980s. Berkshire Hathaway was growing. We were making acquisitions. I was reading annual reports until midnight, traveling, meeting with CEOs, just constantly moving. And see, I loved it. I really did. Still do, actually. I still go to the office every day. Can't help myself. But if I'm being honest with you, and I always try to be, I missed some things. I missed some time with my kids, missed some moments that I can't get back now. My daughter Susie told me once, years later, that she wished I'd been around more. Not all the time, but just more. For the little things. The school plays, the conversations at dinner. And you know what? She was right. Because the annual reports, those were all still there the next day. The business deals, they would have waited. But those moments with my kids, those were gone. Just gone. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. If you're in your 50s or 60s right now, don't make that mistake. Don't get so caught up in the building, in the accumulating, in the doing, that you forget the being. Because I promise you, 30 years from now, you won't remember the extra hours you worked. You won't remember the deals you made or the money you saved. But you will remember, the time you spent with people you love, the trips you took, the conversations you had, the moments you were present. That's what sticks with you. The math still works in your favor now. Let's talk about money for a bit, because I know that's probably why you're watching this. You want to know what to do with your money at this age, and that's a good question. an important question. See, a lot of people think that by the time you're 50 or 60, it's too late. Too late to build wealth, too late to invest, too late to change your financial situation. But that's just not true. Let me give you some numbers, real numbers. If you're 55 years old right now and you've got, say, $100,000 saved up, and you put that in a simple index fund that averages 10% a year, which is about what the S&P 500 has done historically. By the time you're 75, that $100,000 becomes about $670,000. Now, if you can also save and invest another $500 a month during those 20 years, that brings your total up to over $1 million. $1 million, starting at 55, with just $100,000 and $500 a month. See, the math still works. Compounding doesn't stop working just because you got a late start. It doesn't care how old you are. It just works. I've always said that compounding is like rolling a snowball down a hill. The longer the hill, the bigger the snowball gets. Well, if you're 55 or 60, you've still got a hill. Maybe it's not as long as someone who's 25, but it's still a hill. And here's the thing. A lot of people in their 50s and 60s, they're actually in their peak earning years. They're making more money than they ever have. The kids are out of the house or getting close. The mortgages may be paid off or close to it. So you've got this window, this opportunity to really accelerate, to take that money you were spending on kids and mortgages and redirect it into your future. But see, you've got to actually do it. You've got to be intentional. You can't just hope it'll work out. The mistakes I see people making. Well, let me tell you about some of the mistakes I see people make at this age, because I see these patterns over and over again. First mistake, spending like they're still 35. See, when you're young, you feel invincible. You think you've got all the time in the world, so you spend money on all kinds of things. New cars, bigger houses, fancy vacations, expensive restaurants, and some of that's fine when you're young and you've got 30, 40 years to make up for it. But when you're 55 or 60, you don't have that luxury anymore. Every dollar you spend now, that's a dollar that's not working for you, not compounding, not growing. And see, I'm not saying you should live like a monk. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy your life, but you've got to be smart about it. I drive a Cadillac, had it for years. People always ask me, Warren, why don't you drive a Ferrari or a Bentley? You can afford it. Well, because I don't need a Ferrari. The Cadillac gets me where I'm going, and the money I didn't spend on a Ferrari, that money's working for me, compounding, growing. That's the mindset you need at this age, not deprivation, just, clarity. Clarity about what you actually need versus what you think you need. Second mistake, trying to hit home runs. See, when people realize they're behind on their retirement savings or they think they're behind, they panic. And when people panic, they do stupid things. They start looking for shortcuts, quick wins. They hear about some hot stock or some crypto thing or some investment that's going to double their money in a year. And they go all in. And almost always, they lose. I've been investing for over 70 years now, and I can tell you this, The people who get rich are not the ones swinging for home runs. They're the ones who just keep hitting singles over and over and over. Boring investments, steady returns, consistency, that's what works. That's what's always worked. If you're 55 or 60 and you're trying to double your money in a year, stop. Just stop. Because you're not going to double it, you're going to lose it, and you don't have time to recover from that. What you should actually be doing. All right? So what should you be doing with your money at this age? Well, here's what I'd recommend. And this is the same advice I'd give my own kids, my own friends. First, get clear on your expenses. Sit down with a pen and paper or a spreadsheet if you're fancy, and write down every single thing you spend money on in a month. Everything. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the insurance, the subscriptions you forgot about, everything. And then look at it. Really look at it. And ask yourself, do I need this? Does this make my life better? Or am I just spending because I'm used to spending? You'd be surprised how much stuff people are paying for that they don't even use. Gym memberships they never use. Streaming services they never watch. Car payments on a car that just sits in the garage. Cut that stuff out. Not because you have to, but because why pay for something you're not using? Second, pay off high-interest debt. If you've got credit card debt, car loans, personal loans, anything charging you more than, say, 6 or 7%, pay that off as fast as you can. Because, see, that debt is working against you. It's compounding in the wrong direction. And you can't outinvest high-interest debt. You just can't. Third, max out your retirement accounts. If you've got a 401k at work, contribute as much as you can. If you're 50 or older, you can contribute even more. It's called a catch-up contribution. And if you don't have a 401k, open an IRA, a Roth IRA, if you qualify. These accounts, they give you tax advantages. They let your money grow without the government taking a cut every year. That's free money. You should take it. Fourth, invest in index funds. I've said this a million times, but I'll say it again. For most people, the best investment is a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Not individual stocks, not crypto, not gold, not some hedge fund charging you 2% a year to underperform the market. Just a simple, boring, low-cost index fund. Because over time, over 10, 20, 30 years, that fund is going to go up. Not every year, some years it'll go down, but over time it goes up. And that's all you need. See, I've beaten the market over my career, but, I've spent 70 years learning how to do that. I read financial statements for fun. I understand businesses at a level that most people just don't. And even I tell people, just buy the index fund, because it works. It's worked for decades, and it'll keep working. The real wealth is time. Now, here's where I want to shift gears a little bit, because see, everything I just told you about money, about investing, about saving, that's all important. It really is. But there's something more important, something that took me too long to learn, and that's time. When you're young, you think you've got all the time in the world. You think, I'll travel later. I'll spend time with my family later. I'll do the things I want to do later. But later has a funny way of never coming. I'm 94 years old now, and I can tell you I'd trade $1 billion for another 20 years. Hell, I'd trade it for another 10, but I can't. Nobody can. Time is the one thing you can't buy back. You can make more money, you can start a new career, you can fix almost anything, but you can't make more time. So if you're in your 50s or 60s right now, you need to think about this. Really think about it. How much time do you have left? Not to be morbid, but realistically, how many good years do you have? If you're 60, maybe you've got 20 or 25 good, healthy years. Maybe more if you're lucky, maybe less. And the question is, how are you spending those years? Are you working 60 hours a week at a job you hate? Are you sacrificing your health, your relationships, your happiness, all to pile up a little more money? Because let me tell you something. I know people who've done that, who've worked themselves to the bone, saved every penny, sacrificed everything, and then they retire at 65 or 70 with a nice nest egg, and they're too tired to enjoy it, too sick, too worn out, or worse. They die a year later, 2 years later, and all that money they saved, it just goes to their kids who blow it on stuff they don't need. That's a tragedy. So here's what I think you should do. You should find a balance between saving for the future and living now. Because see, you need both. You need to be responsible. You need to save. You need to invest. But you also need to live. What I'd do differently? Well, people ask me all the time, Warren, if you could go back and do it all over again, what would you change? And I always give the same answer. I'd spend more time with the people I love. See, I've been very lucky in my career. I've built a great company. I've made a lot of money. I've done things I'm proud of. But I've also spent a lot of time working, a lot of time reading, a lot of time thinking about businesses and investments and all that stuff. And some of that was necessary, some of that was important, but some of it wasn't. Some of those nights I stayed late at the office, I could have gone home, could have had dinner with my wife, could have played with my kids. Some of those weekends I spent reading annual reports. I could have taken my family on a trip, could have gone to a baseball game, could have just been present. And now those moments are gone. I can't get them back. My wife, Susie, passed away in 2004, and I think about her every day, every single day. And sometimes I think, I wish I'd spent more time with her. Not because I didn't love her, I did, more than anything, but because I took it for granted. I thought we'd always have more time, but we didn't. So, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you've got people you love, spend time with them. Now, not later. Now. Call your mom. Call your dad. If they're still around, call them. Tell them you love them. Spend time with your kids. Even if they're grown, even if they're busy, make the effort. Spend time with your spouse, your partner, the person you're sharing this life with. Because, see, the money doesn't matter if you're alone. The success doesn't matter if you've got nobody to share it with. What matters is, connection, love, relationships. That's what makes life worth living. Health is wealth now. Here's something else I wish I'd paid more attention to when I was younger: my health. See, I've always eaten like a 6-year-old, honestly. I love hamburgers, Coca-Cola, ice cream, all the stuff you're not supposed to eat. And I've gotten away with it because I've got good genes. My mother lived to be 92. My father lived to be 83. But not everyone's that lucky. And even with good genes, your body breaks down eventually. I've had some health issues over the years: prostate cancer, polyps, other stuff. And each time, it reminds me how fragile this all is. So if you're in your 50s or 60s, take care of yourself, please. Go to the doctor. Get your checkups. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Don't put it off. Exercise. You don't have to run marathons or become a bodybuilder. Just move. Walk, swim. Do something to keep your body strong because, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're too sick to enjoy it, what's the point? I know people who retired with millions of dollars, and they can't travel because their knees are shot. They can't play with their grandkids because their back hurts. They can't do the things they dreamed of doing, and that's heartbreaking. So take care of your body. It's the only one you've got. Social Security and pensions. All right, let's talk about Social Security for a minute, because this is something a lot of people in their 50s and 60s are thinking about. When should I take Social Security? Should I take it early at 62? Should I wait until 70? Well, here's what I think. It depends on your situation. If you're still working, if you're healthy, if you don't need the money right away, wait. Wait until 70 if you can. Because, see, every year you wait, your benefit goes up by about 8%. That's a guaranteed 8% return. You can't get that anywhere else. But if you're not healthy, if you need the money, if you've got reasons to think you might not make it to 80, then take it earlier. Take it at 62 or whenever you need it. Because, Social Security is meant to help you. It's meant to give you security. And if taking it early gives you peace of mind, gives you the ability to retire, gives you a better quality of life, then do it. There's no one right answer. It's personal. Same thing with pensions. If you've got a pension, and not many people do anymore, but if you do, think carefully about whether to take the lump sum or the monthly payments. Generally, I'd say take the monthly payments. Because, see, that gives you a guaranteed income for life. You can't outlive it. You can't lose it in the stock market. But if you're not healthy, if you don't have a spouse who'd benefit from it, maybe the lump sum makes sense. Again, It depends on your situation. Just think it through. Talk to a financial advisor if you need to. Don't just guess.
The legacy you'll leave.
Well, at 94, I think a lot about legacy, about what I'll leave behind when I'm gone. And I'm not talking about money. I mean, yes, I've pledged to give away 99% of my wealth. It'll go to charity, to causes I believe in. But that's not the legacy I care most about. The legacy I care about is how I treated people, what I taught my kids, the example I set. Did I live with integrity? Did I keep my word? Did I make the world a little bit better? That's what matters. That's what people will remember. And see, if you're in your 50s or 60s, you're at the age where you start thinking about this too. What do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered as the person who worked 80 hours a week and never saw their family? Or the person who was always there, always present? Do you want to be remembered as someone who hoarded every penny, or someone who was generous, who helped others, who made a difference? These are the questions that matter at the end. And here's the thing. It's not too late to change your legacy. It's not too late to become the person you want to be. If you've been too focused on work, refocus. Spend more time with family. If you've been too stingy, be more generous. Give to charity. Help a friend. Do something meaningful with your money. If you've made mistakes, apologize. Make amends. Repair the relationships that matter. Because, see, you still have time. Not unlimited time, but enough. Enough to change. Enough to grow. Enough to leave the legacy you want to leave. The power of gratitude. One thing I've learned over these 94 years is the power of gratitude. I wake up every morning and I'm grateful. Grateful I can still get out of bed. Grateful I can still go to work. Grateful I've got my health, my friends, my family. Grateful I get to live in America in this time with all these opportunities. And I think gratitude is, it's one of the secrets to happiness, to contentment. Because, see, you can always find something to complain about, always. No matter how good your life is, there's always something wrong, something that could be better. But if you focus on that, if you focus on what's missing, you'll never be happy. Never. On the other hand, if you focus on what you have, if you're grateful for the good things in your life, suddenly everything looks different. Suddenly you realize you've got enough. You've got more than enough. So if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're stressed about money, stressed about retirement, stressed about all the things you don't have, take a step back. Take a breath and think about what you do have: your health, your family, your friends, a roof over your head, food on the table. In the grand scheme of human history, that's a lot. That's more than most people who've ever lived have had. So be grateful, practice gratitude every day. And see, I'm not saying this to minimize your problems. I'm not saying you shouldn't want more or strive for better.
I'm just saying, don't lose sight of what you already have. Don't sacrifice the good in pursuit of the perfect, because the perfect, it doesn't exist. It never has. Well, I suppose we're coming to the end here, and I just want to leave you with a few final thoughts. If you're in your 50s or 60s right now, you're in a unique position. You've got experience. You've got wisdom. You've learned from your mistakes, or at least I hope you have. But you've also got time. Not as much as you used to, but enough. Enough to make changes. Enough to build something. Enough to live a good life. So here's what I'd encourage you to do. First, get your finances in order. Not because money is the most important thing, it's not, but because financial stress is one of the worst kinds of stress, and you don't need that in these years. So make a plan. Save, invest, pay off debt, live within your means. Do the boring, unglamorous work of building financial security. Because, see, that security gives you freedom. Freedom to make choices